My name's Jerry Sheehan. I'm the first person on your program today. And heartfelt and hearty welcome to all of you this morning. I gather most of you were here last evening, and so I have the unenviable task, nonetheless, of filling in for Jim Stavridis, our dean. But I gather you met Jim last night, and certainly those of you who came this morning, if you decide to enroll in late August, you'll have lots of time to meet the dean. And if you want to get a sense of the dean, of course, I would suggest you go to his blog or you look at one of the many videos that he has posted on our website. And I suspect many of you have seen Jim as well on the news commenting on the interesting times in which we live. I want to thank you for joining us today, giving us some of your time. Some of you, I understand, have already made up your mind. Others, I know, are undecided. Our goal today is to provide you with as much information as possible about the Fletcher School. Our goal is not to convince you against your better inclinations to attend Fletcher if you find that this is not the right place for you. The reality is we want students who are happy with their decision, have made a good and wise decision to attend Fletcher, and therefore we hope that you will ask all those questions that are on your mind about what you can learn, what you can obtain, and what you might gather from this institution as you think about your professional career in international affairs. Now, I believe that I can relate to you, sort of. After all, 40 years ago, precisely 40 years ago, I was in the same situation as you are today. I was just coming out of the Peace Corps. I was a little bit, had less weight, more hair, had worked on Capitol Hill for a little bit, and was thinking about one of three graduate schools of international affairs. Unfortunately, at that time, there were no open houses, there was no internet, and there most certainly was no gradcafe.com to inform institutions. So you had to do it on your own. And of course, I managed to do that. And a few years ago, in a much more meaningful and deeply personal way, I was reminded how important a decision this is for you when I accompanied my daughter to a graduate school open house program, graduate professional school open house program. Now, a quick aside, I was reluctant to go with her because I thought, well, as I said, nobody comes, no parents, significant others, very few come to Fletcher for open houses. But she insisted to me that in the health professions it's a little bit different. So she also said, Dad, Fletcher's not the only place in the world, even though I think it is. So I went, and over the course of 5 hours I found out quite a bit about her institution. The reason I mention that is I know that there probably are some parents, significant others, and family members here, so I welcome you as well to today's event. In any case, that open house made me reflect last evening on what I might share with you today. I'm finishing my 32nd year at Fletcher, so I think I have a pretty good handle, pretty good understanding of this institution. And today you're going to hear quite a bit about the defining characteristics of the Fletcher School, about the flexibility of the curriculum, the truly unique community and community spirit which we have. You're going to hear about the diversity of our community in all regards, nationality, religious tradition, political views, ethnicity. You're going to hear about our unparalleled alumni network, what we used to call, what some of us still call, the Fletcher Mafia. In fact, how did I get my job at Fletcher? In large part, even though I decided not to attend Fletcher, I got my job at Fletcher in large part because of Fletcher alumni, the Fletcher Mafia, folks who went to bat for me when I applied for a position here many years ago. But I want to leave aside those distinguishing characteristics which I just mentioned and focus on two other points. And I'm not going to elaborate on either point because I think you're going to hear about that during today's activities, programs, and panels. And if you don't hear about these 2 points, ask about them, because I think they will be central to your 1 or 2 years here at Fletcher, or longer if you decide to do the PhD. The first is theory and practice. We have a rich mixture of both in the classroom. And applying what is studied, examined, and learned to address specific problems is our DNA at the Fletcher School. It is not part of our DNA, it is our DNA. The second thing that I would mention is that this is a professional school. Now, a profession is a job, but it's much more than that. It's a vocation. It's a vocation that requires specialized education, training, and skills, and we offer all three at Fletcher: education, training, and skills. We do it in a variety of ways, both in the formal curriculum and all the activities which we do outside the curriculum, what we call our co-curricular activities. So let me just repeat. I'm not going to elaborate on those 2 points. You should ask about them as you go through the day if you don't hear about them. We are a professional school. We mix theory and practice. We provide you with the knowledge and skills necessary to succeed professionally, so that upon graduation, you are able to address the issues that trouble you, concern you, that burn in your gut, that are visceral, the issues that made you think about applying to the Fletcher School. We can give you what you need to be successful. Now, my daughter said Fletcher is not the entire world, but what we do at Fletcher, what you do with your Fletcher educational experience, can indeed have a positive and lasting impact. I hope you join us in our mission in late August. I hope to welcome you here at the school in late August in ASEAN Auditorium, as does Dean Stavridis. And I'm going to turn it over to our students who can also have much to say about Fletcher. In some cases, probably can tell you much more of value to you as you make your decision. So, Amar.
Thank you so much, Dean Sheehan, and thank you to everyone at Admissions for putting on everything you guys have going on over the course of the rest of the day. So first of all, congratulations to each and every one of you on your admission to Fletcher, and we're really excited to welcome you to our school today. I actually didn't have a chance to attend my open house. I was working in Pakistan, that's where I'm from at the time, and so I had to make my decision using other methods. And so being on the other end and being able to share my experience with you guys is really something that I'm looking forward to. So today I'm going to try to do a couple of things. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background, a little bit about some of my favorite aspects about life at Fletcher, and as well as how I ended up making my decision to end up coming to Fletcher. So first of all, my name's Amar Karimji, and I'm a second-year MIB student. That's the Master of International Business program. And I know a lot of you here are probably prospective MALDs or other degree programs, but that's okay. We can still try and be friends. And some of you may not get that joke, but that's just a little friendly competition we have across our degree programs here. So at Fletcher, my concentrations are strategic management and development economics, and I made a big effort to focus on the quant side of coursework, as that was something that was really important to me in graduate studies. So prior to Fletcher, I worked in education development in Pakistan, working with Teach for Pakistan. So many of you may be familiar with Teach for America or other Teach For programs, and Teach for Pakistan is part of the same network. And my role didn't actually involve teaching itself. I was working on the staff side. So I was working closely with our CEO on fundraising, on impact measurement, and working on some long-term strategic planning. And before I was at TFP, I completed my bachelor's from Washington University in St. Louis, where I focused on political science, Persian, and anthropology. So as I'm sure all of you are well aware of, there's a lot that encompasses life at grad school, and that includes aspects that are class-related and aspects that are not class-related. In terms of classes, I've absolutely loved the classes that I've taken here, and I hope some of you had a chance to stop into some classes over the course of the day. And what I've enjoyed is the mix of classes that exist. And if you guys haven't done this already, not only for Fletcher, but for any of the schools you're considering, just take some time and look through the course list, and it'll give you a really fundamental sense of what courses you want to take, what the school has to offer, what the strengths of the school are. So that's something I would highly recommend. And I mentioned that I focused primarily on quantitative classes, but even within those, I was impressed by the different methods that learning happens through. So some classes use the case method, some are heavier on reading and discussion, there's problem sets, almost every class will have some element of group work. And what I really liked is that because of all these different methods of teaching, it really created a well-rounded semester where I had not only exams and papers, but a combination of those, and it just caused my experience to be much more wholesome because of all those distinct elements that came together and allowed me to learn on a deeper level because it wasn't all the same. And regardless of what type of classes you guys take, you'll find that the faculty is incredibly accessible. And this is something that was new to me at first, but I found out that office hours aren't something you begrudgingly go to because you don't understand something. They're actually meant to be a place where you go and explore an idea that came up in class, but you didn't have a chance to talk to your professor about it long enough. And before Fletcher, this is something I'd never experienced. That was something that was really exceptional to me. And the faculty here, when you're talking to them one-on-one, don't treat you as if a student. They treat you as a colleague, and they want your opinions and ideas on things. And that's something that I'd never experienced before, and it was truly exceptional. So there's two professors that I was able to develop a particularly close relationship with during my time here, and I'll tell you about both of them. So one of them is Professor Shana, who's part of the business faculty here, and he teaches two courses, one on global investment management and one on private equity. And what I really appreciate about him is the dedication he has towards his students. So there's a case competition that a number of students are a part of, and the week that it was due, he was here till midnight every single day helping us prep for it. He arrives early if you want to talk, even if you're not actually in one of his classes. He's really patient with people who are taking finance coursework for the first time, which is a lot of people that end up at Fletcher. He holds extra sessions, he'll help you practice your Excel skills, and he reteaches concepts to you as many times as you need to, without ever getting frustrated. And for me, he ended up being a super important part this time last year, not when I was struggling with the internship search, not just in terms of being able to help me find places to look at, but just reminding me that things were going to be okay, a role that I didn't realize a faculty member could play to the same degree that he did for me. And the other professor is Professor Wilkinson, who used to teach the Processes of International Negotiation class. And what I appreciated about him is that the vulnerability which he shares with the students is really exceptional. And I think what that does is being able to talk about his life and what he's experienced in a really honest way goes to what Dean Sheen was saying in terms of combining the theory that you're reading with the actual real practical element of it. And that balance, I thought he struck really incredibly well. And actually, last summer and over the course of the fall, I was going through something on a personal level that required me to have some negotiation skill. And I emailed him while he was on family vacation, and he got back to me within a couple of days, helping me with what I needed. And when we returned back, after summer was over in the fall, he followed up with me without even my asking. And of course, these are just two examples among what I know are many more. And you hear this a lot over the course of your day here, but the people here are truly exceptional, and I really believe that culture starts with the faculty and staff and really bleeds down through and is a part of the student body as well. So outside of classes, there's three main activities that I spend my time doing, and I hope this is able to give you an idea of some of the different opportunities you'll have while you're a student here. So first of all, I'm on Fletcher's 7-member student council, which is an elected body that advocates on behalf of students to administration. And through that role, I have the opportunity to work on issues ranging from increasing the international student experience to making classrooms more inclusive to all types of students. Secondly, I serve on the management of FSIG, which is the Fletcher Social Investment Group. So you've probably seen on the website, and I'd recommend you take a more in-depth look at it. We have a ton of student groups at Fletcher, and those range from being like geographically focused interest groups to being more career focused, but there's a really wide range. And what FSIG is FSIG is the go-to place on campus for impact investing. And it was a field that I became interested in over the course of my first semester here, and being able to be on management allowed me to build closer relationships with faculty that work in those areas, as well as contacts around the Boston area that I would have never been able to develop without that experience. And so student clubs, regardless of what your interest is, are a really great way to add on to what classes are offering you. And thirdly, I TA a couple of classes, which a lot of students do. And that can be classes at Fletcher, but also classes at the wider Tufts community in the economics or political science department for the undergraduate level. And of course, in addition to giving you an income, which is nice, it allows you to continue to, continue to experience subject matter that you're excited about on a level that is different than when you're in classes. And so this is something that I think really helps round out the experience for me. And in terms of life after Fletcher, I'm not exactly sure what I'll be up to next year, but I'm hoping to make a pivot from the nonprofit to the private sector, giving me a chance to practice some of the business skills that I've learned here, particularly finance. Okay, so I mentioned earlier that I was in Pakistan when I was deciding what school to attend. So how did I end up picking Fletcher when I was half a world away? So first of all, I arranged calls with a number of students, administrators, faculty, really anyone who agreed to talk to me at every single one of the schools I applied to, or not that I was considering at the time. And I can't encourage each of you enough to do the same thing. And obviously you have the experience to be here in person. So really, in addition to the people who are gonna be speaking to you formally, go out of your way to talk to people, because that's what's gonna get you a sense of the school that you'll end up going to. And each of you might be considering other schools that have other unique strengths. But in addition to what the faculty's like, in addition to what job prospects the school might offer you, really think about what you want your 2 years at school to be like. 2 years is not an insignificant amount of time. And you absolutely want to pick the place that is gonna make those 2 years of your life the best that it can possibly be. So for Fletcher, I remember the call that I had that pushed me over the edge and caused me to choose Fletcher. I emailed one of the students that's listed on the admissions website. His name was Jesse Simmons, and he had similar interest to me. I thought it might be nice to talk to him. And I didn't realize this, but Jesse was actually on a beach in Santa Monica because it was Fletcher's spring break. But he replied to me in 10 minutes and told me that if I wanted to call, he had some time to talk. And we talked for an hour, and if I'm being completely honest, I don't remember what we talked about. But what I do remember is that on his spring break, he took out over an hour to talk to me. And I do remember is that he didn't do this because he felt obligated. He did this because he was genuinely excited to talk to someone who had the same interests as him and who might be coming to Fletcher. He was honest with me about what Fletcher is and what Fletcher is not, something that I hope others will continue to do over the course of the day. And Jesse ended up becoming one of my best friends, and just this past weekend, as Dean Sheehan mentioned about the Fletcher Mafia, he referred me for a position just because he knew I'd be interested. And I know this might sound super simple, but I picked Fletcher because it became clear to me in all the communication that I had with people, faculty, and staff that I was the best cultural fit here. And I couldn't have been more right. Fletcher has been a place where I've grown more in 2 years than any other comparable period of my life. And the diversity that exists here is absolutely incredible. You'll have the part not only to experience diversity that others offer, but you'll also be able to share parts about yourself that you never really even knew were unique or important. From Fletcher Feasts, which are informal events that people organize where a couple of students will cook for a larger group, all the way to all the languages you hear in the Hall of Flags. These experiences really combined for me in making this place feel truly like home. And I've always been fortunate enough to have strong communities around me. I come from a very close-knit religious community in Pakistan. I was in a fraternity when I was at WashU. But I can say without a doubt that the community that I've experienced in my time at Fletcher is stronger, deeper, and more versatile than anything that I've ever experienced before. And if you can't tell already, I'm freaking out a little bit about having to leave this place in a couple of months. So I really, really love Fletcher, and I honestly hope many of you will choose to come here. Thank you so much for being here today, and please feel free to come to me or any of the other students and administrators to ask any questions you might have. Thank you so much.
Good morning and a warm welcome to Fletcher. My name is Vika and I'm a second-year MALD student, so you get a different perspective from Amar. So it's a really exciting time in your lives. I remember the anticipation I felt at becoming a student again, wondering if I remembered how to write a paper, the sadness I felt at leaving friends behind in DC, and the thrill of leaving work for 2 whole years. I can honestly say that deciding to come to Fletcher was the best move I've made for my career, my well-being, but not necessarily my bank account. I'd like to share a few of my day-to-day activities, experiences with my classmates and professors, and end with 3 pieces of wisdom. So many of you are either debating whether or not it's worth it to move to Medford, Massachusetts, as you'll hear our lovely Boston accent here. For me, it was a no-brainer. I was able to get out of the Beltway for 2 years, and this was a really refreshing bit for me. Fletcher here has everything you need to succeed. We have world-class professors, fantastic research opportunities, and a tight-knit community. And the Fletcher Mafia, as Dean Sheehan said, is real. They are everywhere, and they are willing to help you with internships, job opportunities, and informational meetings. My internship I got because of the Fletcher Mafia, and starting my job search now, I am tapping into that network in every way that I can. I've taken classes at Harvard, at the Friedman School of Nutrition, and attended events in Cambridge. I even made it back to DC last summer when I interned for the U.S. Agency for International Development. But the best part of moving to Boston was being closer to my niece and nephew in Worcester and my family in Maine. I love being back in New England. I went to undergrad at Mount Holyoke College in Massachusetts. This state has so much to offer in terms of formal education. But then, who doesn't also love fresh apple cider in the fall, warm clam chowder in the winter, and watching the runners and Boston Marathon in the spring? I'm sure you've already heard that the students are drawn to Fletcher because of the community. But what does that actually mean? I think it means something different for every single person here, so I'll just share a little bit of my own thoughts on that. So for me, it's a combination of walking through the hallways and knowing the majority of my classmates' names, having personal greetings from my professors, and being able to contribute my own talents to the community. I am in not 1, but 2 bands at Fletcher. The Los Flecheros, the official school cover band. We play for all the students a couple times a year. It's a lot of fun. And I'm in an indie folk band that plays in the dusty basements of the social houses that we have around campus. I help organize the yearly ski trip to Sugarloaf Mountain in Maine, where we send 300 of our closest friends up to Maine for a whole weekend of skiing, hot tubbing, hanging out. It's really a great, great event, and that's how we kick off the winter semester. I rock climb in the area nearby with classmates, and I cheer on the Fletcher football team. That's soccer, but we call it Fletcher football, on Friday nights. And I don't do this because I have all this free time. I actually don't have much free time, and it's all about trade-offs. You're never gonna have enough time if you come here. You're gonna be involved in way too many things. You're not gonna be able to attend every event. But the decisions that you make to invest your time, that's what makes this community real, and it makes this more than just a master's program. It makes it actually a really enjoyable environment to be here. Last spring break, I went on the Fletcher Israel trek, where I toured the Old City in Jerusalem, covered myself in Dead Sea mud, and met entrepreneurs in the West Bank. I would highly encourage you to look into these non-academic sides of Fletcher and consider writing for the Fletcher Forum, or joining that improv group, or helping organize the annual Diplomats Ball. This year it's gonna be on a cruise in the Boston Harbor, and last year it was at the aquarium. And to transition a little bit to the academic side of Fletcher, one of my favorite courses this semester has been the Historian's Art with Professor Kahn. A simulation we conducted perfectly exemplified the diversity of experiences contained on this small campus. A US diplomat, a Japanese diplomat, and a Romanian lawyer attempted to negotiate consensus around a US base on Okinawa. Each student here speaks at least 2 languages. We've had other careers before Fletcher, and more often than not, they're not American, and they will enhance your education by bringing their different experiences into the classroom. One of my friends used his retirement money, with the blessing from his wife, to begin a second career as a human rights activist after 30 years in the banking sector. These are the people who are going to sit next to you. Tap into their experiences, and I encourage you to share your own. I have several close relationships with professors, like Amar said. This past year, I decided to dive deep into the design, monitoring, and evaluation courses taught by Professor Sharbatka Church, or PSC, as we fondly call her. It's not a series of courses for the faint-hearted. So because I clearly hate free time, I added in an independent study and asked PSC to be my advisor for my capstone. If you're considering a class in design monitoring and evaluation, there's a pre-semester course that starts in August before the semester even begins that you can consider taking. I'm happy to talk about it a little bit more after this. It's a great course, and it's one of those very, very practical series of courses that's going to give you the skills you need to actually start a career in evaluation or something of the sort. It's not an accident that both Amar and I are speaking here today, giving speeches. The Arts of Communication with Professor Moncade prepared both Amar and myself for public speaking. It has a cult following with its own vocabulary, and the harrowing experience of delivering multiple memorized speeches on topics like your own internal values creates lasting bonds. I have to say that I'm also thankful for the law requirements at Fletcher. They forced me to delve into peace operations, international humanitarian law, and law and development, subjects that I had never touched and probably would have felt a little bit intimidated if I had not been forced to take these classes. And they've given me a holistic view in the fields that I hope to work in. The Fletcher curriculum gave me the flexibility to find what I was interested in and to gain the right experience to make me competitive in a new field. This winter, I became a Presidential Management Fellowship finalist, where I hope to enter the civil service for the US government this next year. I would never have qualified for this fellowship if I hadn't come to Fletcher and tailored my curriculum around getting a job in the US government for development. I'm very, very excited for this opportunity, and honestly, I could not have imagined that I was going to get it. So, as promised, here are 3 tidbits from my WISE second year. 1 is trust your gut. 2, push your comfort zone. And 3, ultimately know yourself. You've heard Dean Sheehan talk about this a little bit and Mar, but this is my own perspective. Trusting your gut. I also am not here to convince you to come to Fletcher. You will know after today if this is a place where you're going to fit in, thrive, and grow. 2, push your comfort zone. Not only when choosing a school, but also in picking your classes, joining clubs, and meeting new people. Grad school is the time to learn that new language. Hone your quantitative skills by taking something like econometrics, or maybe even becoming an international lawyer or pursuing a PhD. And know yourself. Take stock of why you want this education. For me, it was ultimately to get the training necessary to advance in a field that I had not worked in previously. But some of you already have a job. Some of you have already had successful careers and you're making a pivot. And everybody's motivation to be here is different. So take this time to think about what you want to get out of these 2 years. Not just the job, but your summer internship, your capstone research, quantitative skills, and what network you want to tap into. I have a friend who on day 1 decided that she was going to meet every single military fellow at this school and befriend them. She took a year off to study Russian in Georgia with a Boren Fellowship, and she's now working for the Marines at the Pentagon. This didn't happen by accident. So best of luck to you all. If I could do it all over again, I would. Thank you.